Hello, art friends. My name is Fleshwad, and today I have two stories for you that involve creepy kids. But just remember, everything isn't always as it seems. The kid I'm babysitting isn't alive. Posted by you/Minister of Owls. I'm a photographer. Since my profession doesn't pay that much, I moonlight as a babysitter and other odd jobs for anyone who'd hire me. Today, I was hired to look after a kid while his parents went to have dinner. The wife was the type of person you wanted to gag and tie up. She was so annoying. The father didn't even seem to care. They both looked like terrible parents. I knew from personal experience bad parents led to bad kids. I knew I wouldn't like whatever was in that house. Things got off to an even worse start when I realized there were no security cameras. No way to monitor what was going on in the rest of the house. People are so casual about their safety these days. For my own safety, I installed my own video cameras around the house. After they left, of course. I just finished putting the final one in the basement when I noticed a shadow on the base of the stairs, and even heard a little voice whisper, "Where's Teddy?" It was Jack, the couple's son. I'm not going to lie, he was a creepy little one. And that one line creeped me out. "Where's Teddy?" he repeated. I don't know, Jack, why don't we talk about it upstairs, yeah? I pushed past him, but he grabbed onto my pant legs, trying to drag me down too. "Where's Teddy?" His hands were so cold. He wouldn't let go. As I dragged his cold body up the basement stairs, I was so tired by that point. "Where's Teddy? Where is Teddy? Where is his Teddy?" In that creepy voice of his over and over, looking at me like that, like he knew something about me. I was so tired. I'd done so much. Before I reached the top of the stairs, I turned around when he was about to start up again. "Why don't you go see him?" I pushed him. He fell over. It was a joke. A joke. I don't know how he was fragile. I swear I didn't know. His body just lay there on the basement steps, his open eyes facing me. For a moment, I was afraid his lips would part and shape those words. But there was only silence. I was alone. Me and Jack's dead body. I didn't want to go to jail. I was so afraid. The only thing I could see was his parents' faces, flashing over and over in my head. I went into some kind of zombie mode. Only thing I wanted was to hide it. Hide it and it would go away. I dragged his cold body down the basement stairs to a hard-to-see corner. Nervous and sweaty, I made sure to place his body carefully on the floor. Then I took pictures. Lots of pictures. I made sure to get his face in all of them. Then I shoved it into a box I placed there, right below the hidden video camera, right next to Teddy's body. I stole a family picture before I left. The annoying wife I wanted to tie up, and that smug husband, and Jack and his little bro Theodore. I got home now, so I don't really know what to do. I'll take suggestions in the comments. I think I'll stay and watch the house from my video camera. They're about to get home now and find their children. I want to see their faces. I'm busy. Posted by you/Princess Aikai. I've been trying to tell my mom something for years and years. It started when I was 3. Whenever my mom and I would leave the house, I'd feel a creepy sensation, a feeling that someone was staring at me. I didn't know how to tell my mom at that age. I'd just shake and cry. My mom took me to a child psychologist who diagnosed me with anxiety. Each year, the feeling got worse and worse, closer and closer until at 6 years old, I finally saw it. I first saw it in a window across the street and 3 houses down, a tall black figure with hunched shoulders and a long, stark white oval face. It appeared to be grinning. Although at that distance I couldn't really tell. I remember walking a couple feet, but every house that I passed, the figure moved 1 house back. I ran back to the car, where my mom was unloading groceries, and tapped her on the shoulder. "What do you want, honey? I'm busy," she said. I tried to tell her what I saw, but she didn't believe me. Well, she did, but she thought it was an anxiety flare. So she took me back to the psychologist. I spent 6 months out of that year in therapy, and all I could do was stare out the window. I could see the figure in the window opposite, about 700 yards away. I didn't speak to the psychologist about it. It was daunting enough being there. The next year was a rough year. I left my house on January 10th to get on the school bus. As I approached the bus, I took a courtesy glance into the window, 3 houses down and across the street. No figure. My eyes, without permission from my thoughts, flicked over to the window 2 houses down across the street. There it was. Go figure. I could see it a little clearer now. It wasn't grinning at me. Although the figure wasn't completely hunched, its torso and arms appeared to be blobbed together from this distance. As soon as I got home from school that day, I ran into the kitchen, threw my bag down, and grabbed my mom's arm. She was cutting up potatoes at the time. I tried to tell her that the thing was closer to me now. I wanted her to come and look, but she told me off, saying she was clearly busy and couldn't come to the window. Fast forward to my 10th birthday. We were grilling at the park with family and friends. All I could do was stare across the street, the figure. I could now make out its facial features. I studied it every day. It didn't ever move, nor blink, nor speak. It just stood there. Its oval face as stiff as a stone pillar. Its arms were no longer molded in with its torso. They hung down by its side. As far as I could tell, its hands were short, but its fingers weren't. They were so long that they almost touched the ground. The fingers were thin and spanned out to about 0.9 feet. I wasn't in the mood to play at first, but when I came to the realization that no matter how close I tried to get to it, it would always move away. All of the other kids at my party were playing soccer, so I decided this would be a good way to see if I could still live a normal life around the figure. I tried to ignore it as I ran over to my friends and engaged myself in the game. That is, until one of my friends kicked the ball into the road. I was chosen to go and grab it. I turned towards the street and checked to see if it was safe to cross. I looked dead ahead of me and my eyes began to well up. The figure was in the exact same spot, no closer, no further. I could hear my friends yelling at me to go grab the ball. I looked for traffic once more and quickly sprinted across the road and past the figure, grabbed the ball and headed back. I was so ready to get back to the park that I neglected to look both ways before crossing again, and was hit by an SUV going around 15 miles per hour. Luckily, I only ended up in the hospital with a broken leg. I wasn't so lucky on my 18th birthday. I woke up to a strange humming sound coming from my mom's living room. I knew it wasn't her. My mom had left for work at 4 a.m. She briefly woke me up, slamming the front door on her way out. I wandered into the living room to find out what the humming noise was, only to find my dad sitting at the table eating a plate of scrambled eggs. This seems like the kind of thing you'd normally see first thing in the morning, right? No. Not if your dad's been dead for 16 years. I cleared my thoughts and he looked up at me, smiling. He then patted the seat next to him as if saying to come sit down. The second I took a step towards him, the whole kitchen went up in flames. Suddenly I was choking on thick smoke and struggling to stand. Dad wasn't there. The figure wasn't there. I was in the burning house alone. Before I knew it, I was on the floor, my eyes slowly closing as I gasped for air. I woke up the next morning in intensive care. My mom sat beside the bed crying. She explained to me that she was making grilled toast in the oven and had completely forgotten about it before heading to work. She said that she had gotten about halfway there when she realized and went back to the house that was completely ablaze. Someone else came to greet me. The figure. He was standing right at the foot of my hospital bed. I began hyperventilating, shaking, out of fear. Its jaw hung open, and I could see right down its throat. I turned to try and tell my mother, but before I could even get the words out of my mouth, she had completely disappeared. I slowly turned my head back towards the foot of the bed where the figure was. Its mouth was even wider. Sliding down its throat was a whole human hand. I caught a glimpse of something shiny on its finger and recognized it immediately. It was my mom's wedding ring. I tried to scream and kick around, but I was in so much pain I could barely make a sound. I tried to press the button to call the nurse, but something stopped me dead in my tracks. I heard my mom's voice, mumbling from inside the figure. I slid my finger over the button and clicked it slowly. The figure opened its mouth, and from inside its throat I heard, "What do you want, honey? I'm busy." I don't remember anything after that. The nurses in intensive care say I slipped into a coma. I asked them if they had seen my mother, but none of them could tell me where she went. They think she up and left. I am now spending my days mostly in bed facing the wall. Sometimes I turn over, but it's always there when I do. Just laying next to me, staring at the ceiling, waiting for me to get 1 year older. The poem, posted by u/dagger_doe. Well, I haven't seen such a mess in here in a while, I thought to myself. But the second it passed through my mind, I realized I've actually never seen such a mess in here ever. All the books in the poetry section were swept off the shelves, as if somebody just put their arm out and threw them in a swift motion, section by section. Kids. There was nobody on my shift tonight, so I had to deal with it myself. Clarice had to take an extra window at the cafe she's been working at, as well as here, the city's school library. So alone time it is. I actually prefer it, to be honest. Sometimes it's just nice to be in a quiet place, alone. Sometimes it's nice to be at the right place at the right time. 4 o'clock was approaching, and I knew there would only be some occasional students passing by, mostly not even asking for help or directions. So I've had a chance to drink my coffee in peace and catch up on some of my favorite reads. Isn't it so obvious that someone who works at the library loves reading books? Cliché. Once I've put all the poetry books away, I made my way to the main desk. It's one of the few beautiful pieces in this library. A hand-carved, round-shaped wooden station with a little gate at the side of it to get in and out. That's been my mothership for the past couple of years, and so it is tonight. But 10 o'clock strikes and I'm out of here. So I'm sitting here at my station. In front of me, there's 2 rows of light brown wooden desks. Not modern, not antique. Mid-2000s, I'd say. Nothing fancy. My coffee's in my favorite mug beside me, and I'm occasionally looking up from my book to see if everything's still in place. The light still pours through the windows on the right side, but it's getting more faint by the minute, as late afternoon strikes. 10 minutes pass and nobody is at the desks, but I see a kid approaching the main area. He's walking towards me with a confused look on his face. His clumsy-ish steps echo throughout the main of the library, bouncing off of the walls and the high ceiling with crumbled, untidy moldings that haven't been touched in years. He looks about 13, blonde, curly hair with blue eyes. He's a bit overweight, but the main thing I notice about him is his lack of confidence. Terrible. I put my book away at the last minute, trying to greet him with my not-so-enthusiastic smile. Great. What does he want? Excuse me, do you know where the poetry section is? He asks, still looking confused as the minute I saw him. It's past the fiction novels, about 6 rows down and on your left. I point him behind me and he nods, then quickly walks away, still kind of unsure. At first, I don't click on, and I think to myself, hope he wasn't the one who made that mess in there earlier on, 'cause I'll sure make him clean it up this time. The kid vanished between the bookshelves, and even though I wasn't eager to fix things up again if I had to, I didn't pay any particular attention to watching him. I can't be bothered, it's my first shift of the week. Too early for this, too early to worry. I continue to sip on my coffee, and slowly but surely get back into my book. The kid isn't making himself present in any way. No noise. It's so quiet in here, I would probably be able to hear him flip the pages, but still. I hear nothing. Well, at least he's not knocking anything down, that's for sure. But there's a slight unsettled feeling in my gut, despite being grouchy as always. I'll give it another 15 minutes and go check on him discreetly. I gave it about 20. Something just made me feel as if I should go see what he's up to. So I picked myself up from my comfortable leather chair and headed towards the section I pointed into, the poetry, yet again for me today. While passing by other bookshelves, I quickly peek in between them to see if he's there, but I don't find him. And when I finally get to the poetry section, he isn't there as well. Did he vanish? Just like that. I would have seen him leaving unless he left through the backfire doors, which aren't really for everyday use. He didn't strike me as the type who would just arrogantly leave that way. Plus, I'm pretty sure I would have heard the slam of the doors shutting behind him. I decide to go back to my main desk, maybe scour the rest of the library to see if he made it past me somehow. After checking the fire doors, I had to turn back and walk the same way I came from. This time, I walked into the poetry section to see if he left any sign of being there. And again, nothing. Nothing visible at least, because the feeling that overcame me was so strong and powerful that I could almost touch it, a sting in my heart. The kind of emotional pain you get when someone breaks up with you, leaves you behind in some way. A heartbreak? That's so strange. It's been a while since I felt that. At least a couple of years. And while I was trying to shake, yet identify the feeling simultaneously, it didn't change the fact that the kid was still not there. And all this felt so weird that I had to go and find him now. While walking back in kind of a haste, I haven't spotted him anywhere. But before checking the right wing of the library, I stopped by the main desk. I was unsettled, disrupted more than usual, and something wasn't right here. My station was untouched, though, and my coffee and the book still in its place, but there was a page gently placed next to it. A ripped-out page from a notebook. It's a poem. To rip my heart out wouldn't be enough. You deserve 1,000 sunsets, my one and only love. But without you saying, it would be alright. I will still stay here watching, gripping my heart tight. It's cute but creepy at the same time. I think to myself, but who the hell left it here? Was it that kid? Is he trying to play with me? What the hell is this? Alright, the feeling I got earlier, and now on top of that, this. I need to find him. This time, I'm not trying to be discreet, and I'm taking my steps as heavy as necessary through the main area, checking every little place he could have used as a hiding spot. Then I head to the right wing of the library. He must be there, there's no other way. I scan through every section, every fiction and non-fiction, historic and educational shelves, and nothing. The feeling I've had earlier faded away, but it's more of a nervous tug in my stomach now. And after looking literally through every place in this goddamn library, even the toilets, I give up my search and go back to the main desk yet again. Because at this point, there's nothing I can do. The kid is gone. He pulled a prank on me and just left. So I assume. This time, I decide not to put my book away until it's a life or death matter. Coffee, pages, and silence. Even though I'm starting to feel a slight heartburn, I do my best to ignore it. Still, the poem was a little weird, and time to time I peek at it from the corner of my eyes. So around 2.5 hours pass. Some people came by and asked me where certain books were, some borrowed a few, but nothing too busy. A nice variation of a peaceful first shift this week. I'm in a moment where everyone left and the silence struck again. My mug is empty now, but the heartburn didn't subside. It's actually getting worse. All of a sudden, I hear a kid's voice, coming from one of the desks in front of me. "Hi, my name is Toby. Did you enjoy your coffee?" He asks, kind of innocently. It's the kid from earlier on, sat at one of the desks, his hands neatly placed together, like nothing happened. "Hi," I say hesitantly. "I did. Why? What are you doing here? Are you lost?" "No, but I've lost something." He replies. He looks very calm. I've lost someone. My brother. He continues. Did you want me to help you find him? Is there anybody I could call? I'm starting to get slightly concerned now, but I notice I'm having to clear my throat. It feels all scratchy, and it's starting to feel like I have a fiery ball in my stomach too. His name was James Donovan, and he loved you very much. The kid is looking at me. His voice is so innocent and untouched. Somehow, I remember this name. Oh my God, there was a James Donovan in my English class. We were both in it for a few years. I remember catching him looking at me a few times, but nothing too major. He was a top student, very polite. He hung around with a couple of his friends at school. They weren't very popular, but nobody ever bullied them. Just normal kids, I'd say, but a bit more quiet. He killed himself 2 years ago. It was a terrible tragedy. Nobody really knew what went wrong. Even his friends seemed to not have an answer that could have led to it. He loved me? How? What? The heartburn is really letting me know about itself, and it's on another level now. I'm starting to struggle for air, and I look up at the kid. You never gave him a chance. He had a lot of pictures of you in his room. The kid starts walking towards me, slow, but still calm. I could hear him cry at night. He even wrote a poem book for you. He placed a bottle green notebook on my main desk. At this point, my eyes are watering. The struggle to breathe is getting worse and worse, and I'm looking at him. The most freaky sight I've ever seen. The last sight of mine I've gathered by this point. He's standing right in front of me, unfazed by what's going on. He poisoned me, for sure. There's no question about it. I'm dying. I didn't know. I would have helped if I could. I'm trying my hardest to let some words out. My voice is croaky now, and I can feel the tears pouring down my cheeks. He left me because of you. He gently replied. Those were his last words, because after that I collapsed onto the floor and I started choking profusely. Blood made its way up my throat. I'm pinned to the carpet with no point of return, feeling the life leaving my body with every breath I'm missing. He walked around my desk to look at me, but he did nothing. He just stood there, in his brown and green stripy t-shirt and angel curly hair. Ever so calm and peaceful, watching me die in agony while I let my last breaths out, and my lungs gave up on the fight, and the rest is just a black screen and a library in the distance. And that was all for this video. I hope you enjoyed these stories and the art. Please make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next video, bye.